Hello, and we are back to something. Actually, so today what we're gonna do is do a little bit of Animator. I know we did animations last time, but I figured we can't have the dude always running. So what we're gonna do, man, my throat is very dry. Not dry, gala kharab. So what we're going to do today is actually give him an idle animation and also kind of cover the basics of animators in Unity. So basically going from one animation to another and controlling that with the keyboard. So when the player walks, he walks. When he stops, he stops. All right. So let's do that. First thing first, we need to give him an idle animation. So let's do this. We're going to copy him, Control C, Control V. Remember, he's a movie clip. And then let's just do Control B, break him. Poor guy. And then do F8 again and convert him into another movie clip. And let's call this idle animation. Okay. We can probably delete this. We don't need this. I mean, that's there anyways if we really wanted it. Anyhow, so this idle animation. So this is where we have to animate him idly. Let's go in here in first frame. We can keep him the same way. So here we can do maybe a few more. So again, there's multiple ways of doing this, multiple billions of ways of doing this. So what I'm going to do here is, I should probably be explaining, select the whole player and then press Q. That way we can get the rotation of the player, and you can see he's rotating from the eye. And that is because the pivot point is on the eye. So if we drag that down, let's say to the neck, then he'll rotate from the neck. So undo that. What we need to do is, I think we'll select the white dot and let's put it on his feet, like on the very bottom. Because what I'm going to do is kind of him going like this, sort of idle. So, right, in the second frame, remember, F6 to create a new frame. In the second frame, oh, the pivot point went back. Let's put it right back in the center again. And then on the top right corner, we can just kind of drag him up a little bit. You can hold Shift. In fact, if you undo that, let's click this magnet snap to object because we don't want it to snap because snap will take it directly to a bigger value. We need it to be very minute. So let's take it to click the magnet, hold Shift, the corners, and then just kind of drag him up. Oops. This pivot point does not want to stay. Make sure your pivot point's on the bottom, otherwise he'll just be like blowing up like a balloon. So pivot point on the bottom, hold Shift, top right corner, and then bring him up a little bit. So if you press comma, you can kind of go back to the previous frame, and if you press period, so you can go back. So these keys, oh, beautiful keys on the bottom. Whoop, whoop, these two. One, two. To the brackets, right? If you press it, you can kind of cycle through them, so you can see them kind of go bobbing. So let's do more than that. Let's create another frame over here. Again, oh, this time the pivot is on the bottom. So again, hold Shift and make him even bigger. So let's see how that looks. Kind of have it like that. So once that is done, what we're going to do is just copy these frames and then put them back. In fact, all we have to do is copy this middle frame. So just do click it, right click, copy frame, then click the fourth area right here, right click, and paste frame. So that way this frame over here gets over here. So when he goes up, he will also come down. And we don't need to do another one over here because the one after this would automatically be this one, which is what we want. So if you loop this, if you do control and then you do loop playback and press enter, you can kind of see, okay, that's a little crazy. It's like he's just in shock or something. So what we can do here is actually slow it down a bit. So let's select 4 of these in the last 4 and pull it 1 forward. Same thing over here, pull it 1 forward, and then the last one again, pull it 1 forward. That will give us some space. So he's kind of like that. Okay, again, we could have actually controlled that speed in Unity as well. In fact, I think I should show that instead. Let's do that instead. So just Control Z all of that. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Delete those frames right back and let it be fast. We will slow it down in Unity. Let him be like crazy, okay? Once we finished our idle animation, this time actually we're going to take it in a little bit different way. Not through sprite sheet. So you know how we went in last time and then we split it up. So we'll render it in Flash in a way that it comes out already sliced. So we don't have to do that step over there. All right. It can get a little bit messy, so you have to be organized with that. So let's click idle animation. Right click over here. Instead of clicking generate sprite sheet, we're going to do export PNG sequence. So what that will do is, remember in last time, in fact, if we go into Unity, in walk cycles, remember how I exported these little two images and cut it into two, this one image into two. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're just gonna be doing that automatically. So let's do that again. Idle animation, right click, export PNG sequence. Let's create another folder here. Remember, I'm in my Unity folder where the project is saved inside the assets, inside animations folder. Sorry, not animation. Let's do sprite sheet folder. Okay, so here I'm gonna right click, create folder, call it idle cycle. Go in here and then we'll name it idle cycle. Okay, we hit enter, give it definition. I think it's gonna auto trim it, that's fine. And then export. So that movie clip now turned into these images. There should be 4 images if I'm not mistaken. So you see the folder shown up here. Yep, in there, and you see the 4 animations. Now, we do have to convert them into proper format, so let's select all of them, and then their texture type needs to be 2D and UI. We do that, hit apply, and voila, now they're proper. Now, to turn them into animation, if you remember, you just drag them out onto the playing field, or whatever we want to call it, and then let's save it under animations and call it idle animation. Let's call it idle cycle. Keep it consistent. Okay, idle cycle. Let them be tiny, it's okay. Now that we have the animation, we don't actually have to do anything. If you want to see it, we can put them up here and press play, and you'll see it, hopefully. Do the idle. There you go. He's breathing. Okay. So now that we have the animation, we don't have to do anything here. And we actually don't need any of these things. So in the once you automatically create the animations, it's going to create these animator controller things. These things, we don't need that, so we can delete those. And this one, we just need the animations. My player might be messed up now, which is fine because he doesn't have a thing now. So let's create a animator. Let's in animations right click, create animator, animator controller. Okay, sorry, call it player controller. Press enter. So this thing is completely new that you guys haven't seen, at least in my series, right? Once that's created, we're gonna click player and assign it. You'll see before, if you recall, there was something automatically assigned here. There's not anymore because we deleted it. But if you do, that's fine. Just replace it with the player control that we just made. Okay, so once that's made, what we're going to do is go to Window, and we'll click the Animator. Okay, we've got the Animator. Now, as long as your player is clicked, it's going to select this Animator and show you here. And it's completely empty. You can scroll in and out to zoom in, and you can, I believe, middle click. Yeah, middle click hold to drag around. Okay. Let's keep it fairly simple. So what we're going to do is bring in the idle animation, just drag it in, and then we'll bring in the walk animation, bring that in. Okay, easy enough. You'll see when you brought in the idle animation first, it connected it to the entry. So it means when the game starts, by default is going to go to the idle animation, and there's no connection to the walk cycle. So right now if you press play, it should go to the idle animation. Let's see. There you go. He's breathing like a crazy guy. That's fine. So back into our animator, which is wherever for you showed up. Mine's right here. Oh, you can actually see the animation. That's pretty cool. Anyway, in the animator, we need to connect it. So let's right click it, make transition, and connect it to the walk cycle. So that's from idle to walk. Now we do need one going backwards. So let's click make transition and click it right back. Now to make them go, tell it like how or why it's gonna go, we need to create parameters. So over here on the left side, you'll see a plus icon. Let's click plus. Yep, plus, and then let's do a Boolean. And then we'll say walking. So this spelling is also very important because you have to match that exactly in the code. So we'll type in even the capitalization. So don't do capital W, or if you're gonna, then do it the other place. Let's call it walking. Okay, and then click this line that's going towards the walk cycle. You can see our little animation. You can actually rotate around if you hold Alt. He's 2D, but that's fine. So the one that's going towards the walk, what we're going to do is here on the right in the inspector, we'll click conditions and then we'll add a condition. And it'll automatically add the first parameter, which is walking. And it says if walking is true, then it'll go from idle to walk. Okay, so on the other line that's going back, we're going to click plus over here and we'll say walking is false. Okay, very simple. Once that is done, we have to code that. The only thing we have to code that is to enable this boolean right here. So in fact, if you press play right now, and it is a little crazy stuff, if you click back the animator and hit this check mark, there you go, he starts running. So now we have to do that in the script. So let's do that. We're gonna go over here, player script, and double click the player. Okay, let's load that, because all we have to do is basically see if we're pressing a key down or if the player is moving. If the player is moving, then we're gonna play the walking, or not, we're not gonna play the animation. We're just gonna say that walking boolean is gonna be true, and that will automatically make the player walk, like so. Ooh, man, my throat is not happy today. Okay, so in the, let's see how we can do this. Again, there's multiple ways of doing this. Where do we check the movement? So here we get the horizontal axis. We can just do this. If, oops, let's just do it after the add force. We'll do if, let's see, movement. Remember, movement is this get axis, so that's the D and the A for us, or the arrow keys. So if movement is greater than 0, so if we're holding right D, that means it's going right, it goes to 1. If you recall, if you let go, it goes back to 0. Okay, so we'll do, if it's greater than 0, then it will move the animation, but we also have to check if it's going left. So let's do OR. So the way you do OR is by doing these little brackets that are right above your enter key. Excuse me, right above the enter key. So we'll add these two of them, and that says OR. So we'll do OR movement is less than 0. So basically, if it's not 0, we are going to play this animation. So go outside of the brackets, parentheses, then open your little curly brackets. Within it, what we're going to do is going to basically tell the animator that we created, like, hey buddy, the walking boolean is true. Okay, so we have to reference the animator. Let's find that pesky animator in in these little variables that we defined up here. We're going to create another one, call it private. Now the type here is animator. Okay, let's call it anim, and then in the start function we'll define it, so we don't have to keep referencing it again and again. We'll say anim equals get component animator. So now remember, get component gets the component that's attached to the thing that the script is attached to. For example, our script, player script, is attached to this object right here that happens to have an animator component. So that's all we're getting. So now when we say anim something, it's talking to this little guy over here. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to say anim.walking, oops, nope, do anim.set bool, open parentheses, and then we'll say set bool, and then we'll open the quotes, walking. So this is where the spelling comes in very handy. You have to make sure it's exactly the same as you typed it over there, and then comma, and we'll do true. Okay, and we'll do an else over here after the curly braces, open another curly braces, brackets, whatever you want to call them, and we'll do anim.set bool walking again, because we're going to say stop walking, comma false. Okay, so we're setting the boolean in the animator walking, that's called walking, to be false and true. Okay, depending on the movement. Now hopefully if everything went right, that should work, unless I screwed it up, which is honestly quite possible. So save project, let the script load, press play, and fingers crossed. Let's see. Okay, he's idle, and voila! Look at that. Now notice there's a slight delay. The reason for that is if you go back in the animator, it waits for the animation to finish before it switches over, and we don't want that. We want it to be like snappy. So just click these lines over here, and you'll see it has an exit time over here, which is checked. We're going to uncheck that. So it's going to say basically no matter where you are in the animation, just switch. Same thing with this down arrow. We'll click has an exit time to be false, or just uncheck it. Now, if we go back and press play, let's see what fantastic things happen. He's idle, and boom, he's running. Look at that. It's kind of funny. Wah! My jump sucks. But yeah, as you can see, he's running like an idiot. So, the other thing I wanted to do was fix his speed of his idle animation. So, the way you change speeds in here is go into Animator again, click whichever animation you want to change. So, we want to change the idle animation. You'll see the speed here says 1. We can make it 0.5. So, now play in half the speed. So, you should be like, so let's see. There you go. Look at him. Pretty nifty, huh? Hopefully. Killed us. Oh, okay, there we go. Well, I think we have some great progress today. What else do we have to do? No, I think that's way plenty for this video. How long has it been? I have no clue. But hopefully you guys learned something. And yeah, I think we're getting some real progress in this game. And we'll keep moving it forward. And see you guys next time. Peace.